Welcome to the Home Building Hub, your essential podcast guide to building your new home. Hosted by industry experts Colin Bischoff and Darren Brennan, this conversational podcast will help better educate you about all things new home building so you can avoid costly mistakes and enjoy your building experience to the fullest, no matter which home builder you choose.
G'day folks, welcome to the Home Building Hub. You're with Colin as always and co-host Darren Brennan. Today we've got a special guest by the name of Ryan Smits. He's from a company called OpenDisplay. Now, Ryan's here to give us a bit of a market insight to find out what's been happening with buyers out there in the first quarter of this year. Ryan is from a company, as I said, called OpenDisplay, and we've had Chi on from OpenDisplay before. These guys, I'll let Ryan share a little bit more, but basically, if you're looking for a block of land, you can jump onto OpenDisplay and you can search any estate anywhere and get through to the right developer essentially there. But they do have a couple of new features that Ryan's going to talk about as well. So, yeah, stay tuned. I think it's going to be very informative to find out what's going on. If you're thinking about buying, thinking about building, you're going to learn a little bit more about 2024 so far in this episode. Darren, how you going, mate? I've got some internet rocking and rolling today, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, it's going well. I was just going to say the same, Cole, but we'll be right. We'll get through as always, mate. But going well, thanks. Obviously, great to have Ryan on board, and OpenDisplay has been a great platform. I think that's maybe even not known enough. So, hopefully today's episode will help a few more people jump on board with OpenDisplay, and they've been great supporters of the podcast as well, which we've really appreciated. One thing I like about it is very much dedicated to the new home industry, so it is land, it is housing, and it's not established, so it's not like a realestate.com. But mate, we'll let you give us the intro around all that, Ryan. But we're really wrapped up here on board, mate, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate the invite and the opportunity to chat about OpenDisplay. But yeah, we definitely have seen a much more positive start to 2024. I share with you both the market update that we recently delivered. OpenDisplay, for those of you who don't know or haven't heard of us prior, as Colin and Darren said, we're focused on that new home space. So if you are a first home buyer, owner occupier, investor, and you are looking to get into the market, you can come to our platform and research anything from land, house and land and townhouse developments in any area. So if you've got a particular region or particular suburb that you're interested in, you can come to our platform and then drill down to that particular development and find out more and make inquiries and start your property journey from there. But going back to Q1, definitely a more positive start, I think, off the back of potential interest rate holds, more positive news in the media about what's going on there. And we saw an increase in traffic to our site off the back of that, but also inquiries. So inquiries, if we look at nationally, New South Wales saw an incredible jump. Queensland went right up. WA and SA were really strong, but we're obviously based here in Vic. And for Vic, we saw a 63% increase month on month from December into Jan, and that's really been the way things have continued to roll into the rest of that quarter. Really strong Feb and then March also. So our developers, our customers are happy, but also consumers are back in the market, a lot more positivity and sentiment in the market. So hopefully a big 2024 ahead in our space.
It's good, Ryan, to see, even when we're seeing it ourselves, the investor numbers coming up as well. But also, I did notice in your report that you sent through, which was great and really appreciate it, the first home buyer numbers are still really strong from an inquiry point of view. But, I'd love to know, Colin, you deal with a lot of first home buyers, as do we. We're certainly in the areas that I look after struggling a bit with first home buyers. Just, obviously the borrowing capacity is not there, but it's it's still, there's plenty of buyers in the market generally, but those are two positive signs, seeing first home buyers and investors coming up, which shows a bit more confidence generally in the overall market, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry to jump in, Colin. Just with that first home buyer and investor space, we really have seen those continue to grow. Owner occupiers have been pretty steady throughout. But one thing I will say to that, it's really dependent on the regions. And with those regions, you might find, say, the southeast is more predominantly, you've got a lot of owner occupiers out there, where if you look in the west, there might be more investors and more first home buyers. But yeah, definitely, as I said, there's been more activity, more people coming into the market, and it's really positive to see, because last year it was a tougher market. I think a lot of people were spooked with interest rate rises, and those continuing to grow. But this year, with rate holds, more people are starting to get back into the market. You've got different motivations as well. For first home buyers, they might be renting, and their rent continues to go up. So first home buyers, when we look at that time frame to purchase, there's more intent for them to try and buy a new home to get into the market. Whereas you might find a typical owner occupier, and for those of you who don't know what an owner occupier is, that's someone who is already living in a home or is a second or third home buyer, and is either looking to upsize, so build a bigger home, or downsize, sell their larger home and buy something a little bit smaller. We're seeing owner occupiers probably a little bit more patient in the market. They don't need to move too quickly. They're already sitting on an asset and probably waiting for a little bit more certainty around interest rates.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, Darren, you sort of mentioned about us in my world dealing with first home buyers a bit more, and investors is one we deal with a fair bit. So our feedback lines up, I guess, with your report there, Ryan, sort of stating that there are less first home buyers. It's really budget restriction as to the reason why. But the ones that are coming through, I guess one of the keys for us is time frame to purchase, which is one of the things you've got there, Ryan. We've seen that been really slow in the last, call it 12, 24 months. And whilst it's still slower, it's definitely improved. I think this year it's one thing that we've seen improve in terms of it's shortened rather than taking 6 to 12 months. In some cases, it's sort of a 3-month, 6-month process to get from research through to decision. So for us, we see investors are popping back up. So for those out there listening right now and you're thinking about, do I get investment? Investors are well and truly back. First home buyers who have the budget, have the ability, they're certainly in the market. But like you said, owner occupiers, they're happy to be a bit more patient. So I think from our industry's point of view, we're getting, how would I put it? I guess we're getting used to the fact that clients need a little bit longer to make that purchase decision. We'd love that to come quicker, Darren, as we always do. But the reality is that we have to be a bit more patient, a bit more educational, and work them through that finance process. So it's a good start. I think last year no one really knew it was going to happen this year in 24. We were all more so as a builder industry. I think we were all stating things hopefully, rather than based on too many facts. So I'd say it's kicked off pretty well, Daz, as good as we probably could have expected. We've got the 7-star energy rating just kicked off, so livable housing, those things we've covered before. So when this episode's released, this will be the first week. It just would have been past the 1st of May 2024. So new regulations and things get used to for a client. So that's going to have a bit of a difference, Ryan. As we and as clients get used to the pricing and the differences and what you can have and can't have regarding 7-star energy rating, etc. So yeah, it'd be an interesting month ahead. But once we get past that hurdle, I think it'll just be business as usual, I would have thought.
Hey Ryan, in your time frame to purchase, I noticed there's a bit of a spike in the 1 to 3 month. Do you think that is reflective of this move through to the 7-star? Like, do you think that spike is, people being aware that that's the case and that being in that time frame?
Oh, I definitely think it's going to impact it in some capacity for sure. For those who are already looking, I'm sure if they've already spoken with a builder, they'd be aware of those changes. But there's probably some people who coming in, they might be just looking for land as their primary search. So the NCC changes might not impact them as much because they're looking to buy something that might not title for some time, might not title until Q1 2025. So that's a cost that they've just got to wear due to timing. So yeah, there will be an element that definitely impact the time frame to purchase, but I don't think that that's the influencing factor. I think it comes down to the motivations. So as I said, with first home buyers, being stuck in paying a rent. They want to start paying off their own mortgage. And then investors, like reality is, I'm not sure if you've spoken about it recently, but we've got a lot of rebates in market, a lot of offers in market. So if you're a smart, savvy buyer, now is actually a really good time. Not that I'm telling everyone to buy now, but now is actually genuinely a good time because you can go and speak to a land agent and you can get, I don't know, it varies. It can be 15, 20, 30, 40K off a particular land lot. And then if they're doing offers with builders, they're doing joint builder promos where there could be 20K off from a builder's perspective. And then on top of that, you've got 5% deposits out there, so really low to get easy to get into the market. And then there's other builders and also land developers. I spoke to a land developer the other day where they're offering to pay your rent or $500 per month off your rent. So there's a few different initiatives out there to try and incentivize buyers to get into the market. And as I said, I think it generally is a good time because I don't believe those rebates will be around in the next 12 months. If we sat here in 12 months' time, I don't think that they will be in market.
Yeah, agree with that. Absolutely. I guess one of your other slides I really liked, and it was I think more for our friends that listen into the podcast who are industry based, was around the time frames of preferred callback, and there's certainly there's two massive standouts there, which is we want to be called back as soon as possible, number one, and we want to be called back in the evening. But I was sort of curious to understand when more of the inquiry actually happening. So they're wanting to be called back immediately, but they're inquiring in the morning. Well, there's obviously not aligning. So most people inquiring later in the day. Is that what you're finding? How's that sort of sit?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. Last year, it was off feedback we got from sales consultants going, we're calling these people because we get verified numbers on our as part of our inquiry process, and we're getting a lot of agents saying we're calling these people, but we can't get onto them. And there was a real shift. So this was last year, and what we actually found was that when people were inquiring last year, it was going through a period where most people started to have to go back to work. So they weren't just sitting on a Zoom call, could put their camera on pause and could take a call to talk about a land lot or a house and land package type thing. So what we did, we implemented a question when they were making an inquiry to go, hey, when would you like to be called back? And we gave them 4 options. So the 4 options were as soon as possible, in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. And yeah, you're right, Darren. Most people, so 47% of the market here in Victoria want to be called back as soon as possible. But what we did find, most of our inquiries generally come through in the PM. So it's not like you're taking calls at 6 a.m. in the morning. But it was a really interesting one to look at and discover some data on because only 11% of the inquiries that came through wanted to be called back in the morning, and we saw preference for that afternoon and evening. And I think from a developer industry, we have sales consultants that work in the display suites 10 till 5, and then they close. Whereas if you think about probably the communication that someone who might be inquiring on the residential established property. A lot of agents are calling them after 5:30, 6 o'clock when someone is potentially on their way home and can actually have a chat. So I think as an industry, I think personally, there's an opportunity to be better at that communication and call someone when they can genuinely sit down and give you 110% of their time. So yeah, it's just an interesting call back. Yeah, but the as soon as possible, there's obviously some people that are making inquiries and wanted to talk to a sales consultant or agent and get the information straight away. And that was one of the things that we saw an opportunity to connect buyers as well. So we've now got a new feature that we've added where if someone makes an inquiry, they say that they want to be contacted as soon as possible. We then give them the power to contact that agent so they can actually call or SMS.
Yeah, certainly. I guess the industry people, reality is people want to be called after hours for the most part. Like, so, they're making late in the day inquiries, want to be called at that time. You want to be a standout in your area, pick up the phone and call them after hours. Don't wait till the next morning at 10 o'clock because they're probably not going to answer, right? So, yeah, some great words of wisdom, I guess, from your reports, mate, and I think that's great for the industry people out there.
Yeah, thank you. I think in today's day and age, the way I don't know, our behaviors are, we want action straight away, but we also want personalization. So if I want you to give me a call in the evening, I'm obviously giving you a free hit, going, "Hey, this person is a genuine buyer, but needs to be called in at this time to actually make that conversation happen."
Yeah, interesting one. It's been one that I guess internally in our industry, with in the sales consultants' minds, we've dealt with for a long time, Darren. But good to know to reinforce that. I was going to probably dive a bit deeper, Ryan. You'd said at the start there that inquiries in 24 had increased, and which is a good sign. And then we're obviously seeing, as a result of 7 Star, an increase in inquiry and people trying to get the current regs or the previous regulations, I should say, to secure a little bit of a better price point. But what I guess want to highlight is a little bit that we talked about prior to pressing the record button, in terms of when you're seeing those or the audience increase, what other factors are coming into play for the decision making of these people that are inquiring, in your view? And it's a bit of a loaded question. It's around, what are those people? They're inquiring for land or house and land for 80+% of your inquiries. What can we do to service those people a little bit better, and what can they do in terms of the advice they're receiving from other people?
Yeah, these like the data that we found that primary searches coming through to our site, you had 47.5% were searching for just land primary as a search, and then what we found was there was buyers that were just looking for land, and then there was also crossover for that type of buyer also considering house and land, and then a small portion that were also looking for home design. So that makes sense. You've got your land, you need a builder, what fits on that land, and then an interesting fact that we saw was there was buyers that their primary search was for house and land, and then they would also consider land. Some would consider land as well, and then that primary house and land package searcher some would also consider townhouses. But what we did find was if you're a buyer who is looking for land, you would typically, we didn't find any correlation. You were typically not interested in townhouses, so they were mutually exclusive in that search. So for us, if I think about your question there, what can you do from your side if you do have different product types? So if you've got if we're talking to a land developer right now, they might have individual lots. But I would also suggest to put up house and land packages, because then they'd have partner builders. H&L Victoria and Metricon are two examples. And then you might also have builders who do townhouse runs. So a run of townhouses in there. And the reason why I would suggest putting them up, because from our data, it shows that people are searching. They can search for 3 different products, and you just don't know what that buyer is looking for. And with the increase in buyer numbers coming through, I think that's one portion of it, how we can get inquiries through. But one of the other things that we know for a fact that particularly first home buyers who are probably a little bit more uneducated in the space and are coming into their first home to buy, there's an opportunity to share more educational pieces. And I think what you both are doing is fantastic for the industry, because you've really covered so many critical parts of the journey that I know. It depends if I'm a first home buyer, if I'm an owner occupier, an investor, they're all hyper relevant to what I'm doing. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing, but definitely that educational piece is really important on the journey for all buyer types.
Yeah, so on that, do you just give us some feedback on that? Because Darren and I have spoken about this topic a lot, and given our fair share of commentary, which we can add a little bit more to. But people who are looking to buy right now, coming through the system through OpenLot, getting land or house and land, talking to, a salesperson for land or for house and land at the same time. What's your advice to them? Like, have you seen the news impact the numbers that come through? Have you seen, as in the media, we're seeing, family the uncle that knows everything, so to speak. Is that something that you have witnessed, and is it an area that I think a buyer that comes through the system should be? What's your opinion on that? Is probably what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like for us, because I've been in the industry for a while, it's kind of I've learned to see past the headlines, because I think what happens is if you're a buyer and you see a news headline around interest rates going up, or and that's all the headline is, or builder gone under, you immediately, if you don't read the actual article, you immediately go, oh well, we shouldn't buy. And then you go to a barbecue on the weekend and you have someone who's flipping the sausages, and you start talking about property, because property is quite a popular topic, and then merge that in with some interest rate talks, and it's like, well, now's probably not a good time. Interest rates might continue to go up. And I think there's a lot of advice that gets given around the barbecue that is probably incorrect, because they have been reading the headlines. Like if you think of more recently, last year was a tougher year. There were some bigger builders that went under, but as we started this year, there was a couple of builders that went under, and yeah, it's not great for the industry. Don't get me wrong on that, but I think that there's businesses that go under a lot, but the focus on the media attention was really is always on property, and it's either builders going under, build costs going up, or interest rate talks. Now that we've seen a shift with the narrative from the RBA and what they're doing, and interest rates look to hold, and there was some positive news that interest rate, like back in Jan, early Feb, interest rates might start to go down towards the end of the year. That we saw, we could actually see on our site a fluctuation in traffic numbers. Last year, it was conversely to that. When interest rates went up, we saw traffic numbers just drop off. It was like an immediate effect. People were just like, oh, we're just going to wait and see. But I'm really positive about this year, because we have seen an increase. There is more certainty around what interest rates are doing. Reality is we're at the top of the rate cycle. I don't see them dropping dramatically, but I think that the narrative that is out there is much more positive. And from a buyer, to give that certainty, you go, well, if we don't get in now, it's not going to be. If we get in now, it's not like we're going to miss out on a huge saving when they come down at the end of the year. Like, it's going to drop only slightly. So if you are a buyer, it's like you've just got to read past the headlines. That would be my advice.
Yeah, good point. We had Darren and I discussed the feedback people were getting from brokers, and not incorrectly, brokers and financial brokers, for example, just giving advice saying, don't buy now. We don't know what's going to happen with interest rates. But there we are in the background saying, guys, you need to buy now, because we're about to charge you 20, 30, 40, 50 plus because of the 7-star and the livable housing and the whole of home changes that are coming, which we've explained in other episodes. But no one would listen, because it just sounds like, oh, it's just a builder trying to get us get us on the hook. But the reality is you need to get your information from multiple sources. And that's probably, I think I really fumbled my way through the question. I didn't mean to do it that way, but that's what I'm trying to get to the listeners right now. Understand that you should not just take advice from a family member who doesn't know anything about building a house. You can take some of their opinions on board, but come through an Open Lot website. You can get some weekly emails from them and some updates and education through them. If you don't want to go get it from a builder directly, you can come to this website. You can go. There's quite a few educational pieces out there, and there's lots of advice that can come from people who have the experience to help you make the right decision for you today. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to share, is that we've seen people miss out on opportunities, Darren, in the recent months because they listened to a family member and a broker who were not a bad thing, but were not educated enough on what actually was happening. And it's really good to see the numbers from OpenLot show an increase. It's really good to see our industry sales show an increase and permit numbers going up and build times coming down. Like, we're seeing some really good things. And admittedly, there's still some legacy jobs around out there, Darren, that every builder's probably got in the books and trying to get through them. But that's in the past. And I think I'm very confident and comfortable that we, as an industry overall, it's gotten a lot better in this first quarter. And I can't see that changing. In the next quarter, it's going to get better again. So
Absolutely. Hey Ryan, you guys obviously do a fair bit of surveying throughout, all of the areas. Um, is there some standout areas that that you'd like to highlight that people are really looking at buying in at the moment?
Oh, that's a tough question, Darren, because I think it comes down to your motivation and what you can afford as well. Like if I might aspire to buy that double story house in the southeast and in Berwick as an example, but reality is I might not be able to afford it. So what are the opportunities that exist there? And you might look suburb just south of that being Clyde or out towards Officer or even further out, there's quite a few new developments happening in that Pakenham East area. Um, yeah, but if we looked at the numbers and I spoke from what we can see where there's been a lot more interest, definitely that Western corridor has picked right up. In terms of activity, more inquiry coming through. I think that does come down to affordability. There's things that you can buy out there that are sub 500, and it might be a two bed, two car, one car spot, and that could be a townhouse, or it could even be quite a smaller home. In the Melbourne North, I was having a look at the data, and the Hume region is pretty consistent. There's activity buyers are wanting to buy pretty quickly there, and then same for Whittlesea. And when I look at Whittlesea, there was a little number that kind of stood out for me, and this is more talking from an investment perspective. Not that I'm giving financial advice or anything like that, but there was when
Heaven forbid. Yeah.
so please don't take this as gospel. But when I look at the numbers and I go, because we look at the breakdown of owner occupiers that sit in each region, and then how many first home buyers have indicated that they're first home buyers and investors. There's a really big gap in the market for investors, I think, in that Whittlesea region. So the inquiries that we saw over Q1 was about 14%, I think. Yeah, 14%. And then first home buyers were sitting at 34%. So you've got to remember first home buyers and investors typically buy a similar product. So I think that there's an opportunity if you're an investor, if you were to buy something, to look at that area. But yeah, as I said, that's a really tough one to answer, Darren, because yeah, it depends your motivations, how much money you've got to spend, and how long you're looking to live there. Like reality is probably I talked to my mum and dad, and they bought out in a greenfield area, so it was back in Roeville back in the day, just behind Stud Park, and they bought it was an AV Jennings $64,000 home, and it was on 500 square meters. And now that thing would be worth over $1 million type thing. But yeah, we've got to remember that the buyers that are coming through now, particularly first home buyers, you have to look at what you can afford, and that might be something a bit further out now, with the hope of if you want to live closer in, that's going to be down the track. Your first home is probably not your forever home.
That's very, very common, and with most sales, Darren, that we see go through over the years, most of the buyers have to sacrifice on one thing, whether it's some upgrades but a lot of the time it's like, do I buy a bit of a smaller house in the area I want, or do I buy a bigger house in another 5-10 minutes down the road location? But there you have it, folks. So write that down. Ryan Smits from Open Lot telling you exclusively that Whittlesea's the spot for investors. Is that right? No,
but it's not financial advice.
We do have a financial advice thing at the end, Ryan, so that should cover us. But this is a good segue into when you go on OpenLot, there's actually a thing called a buyer demand index. Okay, so he's not just making up this information, he's reading the information that comes through from all the people that go through the website and starting to see a few things I guess stand out. So Ryan, just for the listeners, could you take them through what the buyer demand index is on the OpenLot website? How does it work? How can it help?
Yeah, so we wanted to create a site that wasn't just a listings portal. We wanted to create a site that was going to help buyers on their journey. And one of the things that we learned when we were buyers ourselves was trying to find platforms where we could get data and insights and help us make a decision on why we might potentially purchase there, or who's purchasing there, or where there could be trends that could be quite helpful with that purchase. And when people come to our site and they are researching, they go to make an inquiry, and on a particular development, they submit that inquiry, name, email, and a verified mobile number at a minimum. and then we prompt them with filling out a buyer profile. So that buyer profile has about 13 questions, and that covers what type of buyer you are, if you've got any specific land preferences like sizes or title dates. We also ask you if you've got any, if you're building. So are you looking to do a 4-bed, 2-bath, 2-car park? Is it single story, double story? And you can actually put in there if there's anything else that you require. So I need a 14 or 16 metre frontage, etc., and I want to look at a park. And then we also ask what's their financial status. So if they're deposit ready, if they're selling an existing home, if they have pre-approval ready, etc., as well as budget. So what their complete budget is, what their build budget is, and then timeframe to purchase. So really quite comprehensive questioning. But what it does when buyers submit that, so just to give you some insight into the numbers, in Victoria, over the last quarter, we had over 12,500 inquiries that came through. And of those 12,500, about 60% of those submit that buyer profile. And with all those questions that we ask, so someone goes to make an inquiry in Melbourne North, in the Whittlesea region, they've made an inquiry. What they've made an inquiry on, their data then goes into that particular area. And then we collate all the data, and then we can pull out trends. And that buyer demand index that you're referring to, Colin, it sits on our site, so anyone can actually go on there. So if you go to openlot.com.au, it's under news, and then there's a buyer demand index there that you can click in. And then from there, you can drill down to any particular council region or particular suburb that you're looking for. You can look at the different time period. So I like to look at the last quarter, because the market that we're in is moving and changing so quickly that if you do a 12-month look back, last year was really tough. This year, the trends have completely changed. So to be able to have almost that real-time data is super important, and particularly for someone that's doing their research as well to understand what the market's doing. There's a huge amount of value that sits on there. So all free to use, and you can go and see what the buying purposes are, what the land sizes are, time frame to purchase, and it can be used from someone who's looking to buy, an investor, first home buyer, owner occupier, and it can also be used quite valuably by a builder, by a developer as well, to understand what their buyers are actually looking.
Yeah, we use it a bit just to get some of those key insights. But as a buyer, you can see what's happening. You know, the average land settlement timing, the time frame to purchase. I mean, that tells me that there's a bit more confidence in the market, because a third, if not a little bit more, across Melbourne Metro is actually 1 to 3 months, as we noted before. So these things are great stats for us to know. But as a buyer, there's so much information about what are other people doing in that area that you're looking or intending to purchase in, or just doing your homework on. So I think super valuable, completely objective. There's no link to a builder or developer in that sense. It's just the data of OpenLot, people coming through their website.
I think the other interesting stat that's out there, Cole, is that time to settle. And there's a big section looking at 12 months to 24 months. And that sort of, again, I think is people saying, hey, I'm thinking things in 12 months' time are going to be in a much better position. Interest rates likely to have come down. So I want to secure something now on today's pricing, knowing that if the market does pick up, then prices will go up. You know, I can get the rebates, I can get discounts, I can get whatever the best deal I can possibly negotiate, and then settle it in, 24 months, say. And I think it's really clever. And I think that's probably a shout out to some of our developer friends out there too, to, don't hold off putting stock on the market, because there's buyers that want stock, but they want it to be in that time frame. So if you can accommodate that, you'll probably pick up some extra sales too, which is great.
Beautiful. Now, leading to the next thing, I'd like you, Ryan, to introduce as a new part of openlot.com.au. That's not just about the land component. You guys have nailed that for a while now. You're now moving over to the display component. Now, I'll let you explain that, but this is exciting for those of you who can't be bothered getting off the couch and cruising through display villages. You can sit there in your jammies. And what is happening there, Ryan? What's the new addition to the website?
Yeah, so it's a new product initiative called OpenDisplay. We saw a gap in the market where we know more and more people are searching online. It depends what stats you're looking at, but it's definitely over 80% are searching online before they actually come down to the communities or probably engage with a builder. They typically would come to you and know almost more about the actual home design or the development than you do. But we saw a gap in the market to fill, and that was filming the display villages. So our site, we have all of the land developments, house and land developments, townhouse developments. Great. But what's the next step, particularly for someone who's in that land space and wanting to potentially buy in a community? They're going to have to build a house. And we thought, okay, well, what can we do to bring to life the display villages? How can we make it as easy as possible for someone to, as you said, sit on their couch in their jammies, whatever, and to actually go and view the community, walk around the display villages, stand out the front of the display village, and see a row of homes and go, we really like that one. Walk through. We really like this. We're going to have a look. And so what we've actually done, we've filmed with a 3D Matterport camera all of the display villages. So we're currently there's going to be about 32 on there at the moment across the different regions. And what that is you can go down into display village, do your walk around, stand out the front of the house, click on a button, and then all of the builders that have been working with have been kind enough to share with us their 3D Matterport walkthroughs. So you can physically sit on the couch, but do your research, stand out the front of this display home, go, I love that double story, love that facade, click the button, and then you can actually click again and actually walk inside and then do a full walk around of that display home. And you can do it to all of the ones that sit in those display centers. And then on the weekend, you can go, hey, we've already looked at 10 of these. We like 5 of them. These are the ones we want to go to. So we've got the audience for land, and it was really hand in glove to go, okay, well, how do we really bring to life what builders can do? We are with that OpenDisplay product that is the conduit product between us and builders, and we will be moving into an opportunity where we'll have a builder portal as well. So working with builders to put up their house and land packages and home designs and a few other really cool features, which will be coming to market later this year.
A really cool, feature you've added to the website, I think, mate. Again, just trying to make buyers feel more comfortable about that process of they go through. And as we know, a lot of people like to do their shopping from home initially, and then will venture out at the last sort of, the last part of their journey leading into a purchase. So, it's fantastic they can do that. And, obviously anyone listening, jump on the OpenLot website and have a look at that feature, because it's something that's really special. And obviously the more estates you guys add, the bigger and better it gets. So, it's fantastic, Ryan. Really love it.
I think, Darren, this is not a pro for us in the sales part of the industry, but the reality is, and it's always been the case, people don't want to be sold to. And sitting back in the display, we call them the garage, as a sales consultant, sit behind that desk or opening the door for someone coming through, Darren, we've got many experiences where not clients yet, visitors walk through that and they scale the window to avoid the sales consultant or any eye contact or any commentary or discussion. Like we've seen some pretend they're on the phone and the phone has rang, things like that. And the reason for that is they're not quite ready to be spoken to or sold to, and they're just trying to do their homework. So back then you couldn't, now you can. You can jump on here, you can cruise through the Matterports, the virtual tours, literally of the entire display and every house within it. And you don't get harassed by a sales consultant during that process. You do it on the couch or in your office at home or whatever, on the laptop. And then, like the guys said, you can narrow down a few builders from that, a few designs, and go and talk to those people specifically. And I think that's a really good win for the buyer and a more qualified win for the sales consultant as well. So good outcome, right? I reckon it's a good initiative. Yep. Awesome. Anything else to add there, Daz?
No, mate. I think if you want a really great tool to be using, jump on the OpenLot website. There's so much information there for you. I think it's just such a great place to start part of your shopping. You're not having to trawl through. And I was going to touch on the secondhand housing earlier, but we'll leave that alone now. But you're not going to come across secondhand houses on there. You're going to come across all new land estates, etc., which is obviously the industry we all work in. So I think it's just a great tool for people to be using, and make sure you jump on the website.
Yeah, beautiful. What about yourself, Ryan? Any final comments for us?
Just to reiterate, like it's definitely been a really, really positive start to the year. Like if you're a buyer coming into the market, there's a huge opportunity to take advantage of those rebates and offers. Obviously, with the NCC changes coming into fruition, that's kind of they've been coming for a while, so it's not like it's something new. But I definitely do think that as we get further into 2024, the opportunity to buy in that new space becomes stronger and stronger, because I think the established market will pick up as well. So the opportunity to get more value in the new homes will start to pay off. But overall, it's like, thank you very much for having me and inviting me on here. And not to suck up to you too much, but I absolutely love what you were both doing, and the educational piece to it is incredible. So for buyers out there who are unsure about what's going on, you guys have a huge amount of episodes and content that's on your own site that I think can be hugely valuable to anyone looking to buy.
Yep. Appreciate that, Ryan. We'll pay you separately for that comment. So, no, thanks for coming on. We're big fans of OpenLot, have been from day dot, to be honest. I'd like to see someone, David and Goliath in terms of OpenLot and REA and doing things a bit different. I think it's really good. We're big fans of Chi, who's the founder of OpenLot, and what you guys are doing. So there's great value there for the listeners and the viewers. Please jump on there. They also do the expo, which will be another one coming up in due course, I imagine. So there's so much great value now that didn't really exist as much, only a handful of years ago, Darren. So thanks again, everyone, for watching, for listening. We hope that if you enjoy what you've listened to, what you've watched, you can jump on the platform and give us a 5-star review. We like to charge you one fee, and that's to pass on this podcast to someone else and see if they can get some value out of it as well. If you haven't met myself or Darren, and this is the first episode you're watching or listening to, jump back to episode number 1. Who we are, what we do, why we're doing it. It's all there, so it saves us having a ramble on about ourselves every episode, because that's not our favourite thing to do. And other than that, guys, if you've got any topic ideas, jump onto the website, homebuildinghub.com.au, and just leave a comment for us there. We're happy to take questions or anything like that, new topic ideas. And of course, openlot.com.au is what we're all about for this episode. So from me, I think that's pretty much done. Darren, anything else, or are you happy to wrap it up?
No, mate, it's been a great episode, and thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. And just our disclaimer, whilst we're all about providing value to you, this podcast should not be considered as legal or financial advice. It contains general information only, and you should seek out independent professional advice on your personal situation before making any legal or financial decisions.
1